Let's listen to Pavarotti.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I am your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions. Not here to slander anyone. I will be providing information. I will be giving you my opinion on the information I provide. My opinion is mine and mine alone. Now, in this episode, we're going to dive a little bit back into my investigation. As I'm going through and breaking apart those court documents, sometimes I have to take a little bit of a step back and focus on the investigation so that I don't, have a permanent cross-eye look. So what I want to do is just give you some updates into the investigation, some things that I'm looking into now that I think you'll find very, very interesting. I have given a shout out again in this one to Bubbly Waters and Aquitas Veritas, or Veritas Aquitas. Both excellent. They've been doing their research, and I'm going to use some of their research and expand on it as I get into this. But there's some key facts that are starting to be uncovered that I think you should keep in mind. Because if you followed me for a long time, you know the way that I operate. I'll do a lot of videos showing a lot of different clues that have been uncovered, and then we'll take all of the different clues we've uncovered and compile them into the entire scenario. But it's important to understand the clues individually before the scenario is put together so that you know where all the information in that scenario comes from. So let's see if we can't show you some information that might knock your socks off. Let's get started. Now, this part of the episode is going to be expanding on research from Veritas Aquitas. And you need to go subscribe to her channel because she does an excellent job uncovering information. Now, we know with the information that we're uncovering in these court documents, a lot of emphasis has been put on some of those user accounts and email addresses that they're wanting to get suppressed because it shows he was in contact with somebody. Now, we have all speculated now that it all but proves that the person he was in contact with was Brent Kopacka. But is this new information? Is this information that nobody in the world knows? Or were a lot of the mainstream media folks in the beginning let in on this secret? And they've done a pretty darn good job of keeping that secret ever since, but they didn't keep it very well in the beginning.
We have to know what kind of DNA it is because there's a suggestion that goes like this, that it wasn't him, it was somebody he knew who he was with. Without violating, this would only help his cause, do you have any reason to believe that it could have been somebody else, that he wasn't alone, that the man who was shot in the shootout at Washington State University, the security guard, is he relevant?
I don't have any knowledge of another person being involved. Again, I never asked Bryan any of the facts and circumstances surrounding the case. I made that clear from the moment I sat down with him that I was simply there to represent him for the extradition proceedings and that his attorney in Idaho would really be taking the case over and would want to hear his story first.
The man who was shot in the shootout at Washington State University, the security guard, is he relevant? The man who was shot in the shootout at Washington State University, the security guard, is he relevant?
So in my humble opinion, mainstream media knew that Kopacka was a security guard at WSU. They've kept that under wraps since the beginning. But it tells me that law enforcement firmly had their fall guys in place. And were they set up by law enforcement, or were they set up by the assailants, or was it a combination of both? The investigation continues. Next, I will be expanding on the excellent research of Bubbly Waters. Now, if you're not subscribed to Bubbly, go over there and subscribe because she comes up with some excellent information in this case. And I'm going to start with the family tree that she started on TF and expand it out a little bit. Okay, so most of this family tree actually comes from this Germer family. And we're going to start way up at the top with Paul G. Paul G came over from Germany. And Paul G had sons and daughters. One of his sons was George G. One of his daughters was Esther G. Now, George G, following that line, he had a son named Larry G, who founded Germer Construction. Larry G is an alumni of the University of Idaho, and he is best friends, according to newspaper articles, with Scott Green, who is in charge of the university. Now, on the other side, George's sister, Esther, she had a son and a daughter. Her son is Paul F., and her daughter was Terry C. Now, Paul F., we know him because he had a son that we referred to as TF. Now, his sister, though, Terry C., had a daughter, and her name is Brittany G. Now, Brittany G. married Shane Gunderson, and we know his partner on many of his outings, as we've seen video to prove it, is none other than Rosie, Nate R. So when you look at this family line, you'll see that TF and Larry G over there are actually very closely related. And that would mean so is Brittany G and her husband and his partner. So we can see this family lineage and connections are pretty tight there in Moscow as it relates to the criminal world, and TF represented well, and the law enforcement in the two officers I've mentioned. And not only that, I mean, straight connections over there to the guy who runs the University of Idaho. But again, just more clues in the toolbox of clues. Now, one of the people I had on that tree, you can see here, is Officer Rosie. Now, just digging in a little bit to Officer Rosie, I see that he actually resided in this particular place for, I believe it was 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years. And that you can see his home listed right there, just on the east part of Moscow in this trailer park right here. So, you know, Officer Rosie doesn't seem to be very affluent living in this trailer park. So I would think that some decent money situations coming his way would look very attractive to him. Then we have that close relative on that family tree. We've already discussed about Officer Shane here, and you can see that he was among the first at the scene after the 911 came in. And we've also discussed how Rosie and Gundy are the chief culprits in the Stickergate scandal, where video was held from the defense for over a year, which landed them on the Brady list. And then we've got all of these new videos that are missing altogether, or missing footage that was collected by the Moscow PD, and it just happens to be around areas that you wouldn't want them to miss footage from. Kind of interesting. Which leads me at this point in time to be heavily exploring these possible folks being involved in the atrocity there on King Road. And at this point, I firmly believe we have 3 assailants. And you can see I've got them unnamed there. I do have some initials underneath them of who I believe them to be. And below them, we've got the lookout, Mr. TF. And we have to the right a possibly paid off guy paid to run interference during the atrocity. And then at the bottom, we've got a possible another paid guy to assist in the cover-up of everything that took place. And one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's, something that might be going on in the background, but when I look up that bust on the DEA site for the 28-member group of the Aryan family, for some reason, I can't seem to find it on there anymore. It's almost as if it's been scrubbed from the DEA site, which they never do unless new information comes up in their cases. So, kind of interesting. And for some time now, I have been really looking into the video footage of the vehicle that leaves the Linda Lane apartments at 4:23 a.m., the little hatchback / sport utility that we all see the person go to at 4:23, back out, and then they would have driven straight down right after, 3 or 4 minutes after what they say the white Elantra left the neighborhood speeding. And it was caught on the possible light bulb camera there on King Road. Well, that camera certainly would have caught the vehicle leaving at 4:23 from the Linda Lane apartments on that same camera just a few minutes later. And it has been my contention that is possibly that Dodge Journey. And it also resembles the Dodge Journey picking up the trash can guy at 4:59 near the trash can and him saying that's it just 30 minutes later. But I have another possible suspect vehicle that may fit that mold as well that I am looking into. And I found it by chance, but it sure seems suspicious, and the dates and the places seem to correlate with a possibility. You see, we've got this Kia sport utility. It's maroon, and it really fits the description of that vehicle as well. And you can see it's submerged in water right here, and there's some other aspects of this particular vehicle that leads me to be suspicious of it and think that it possibly could have been involved. You see, what makes it interesting is we know that TF was arrested in Spokane, Washington on November 22nd, 2022. And you can see, found on November 21st, 2022, noted in the Spokesman Review, this was their newspaper article on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, noting that that vehicle was found the day before. And you can see it says a stolen vehicle recovered from the Spokane River. And this stolen red Kia SUV was recovered from the Spokane River on Monday morning. So they find this Kia that was stolen in the Spokane River the day before. They find TF in Spokane and arrest him. So could this possibly be the vehicle we see on the Linda Lane footage? I don't know. But now I've got two different vehicles to explore. The Dodge Journey and this Kia. So folks, I just can't help but keep diving into the investigation as I'm going through and breaking apart the motions to suppress for you. I hope to have the next video out tomorrow, and we'll be diving into the first motion, which is the Amazon warrant, and really breaking it apart for you and giving the information that needs to be put out there about it. But in the meantime, please like and subscribe to this channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, even your criticisms. But until next time, Pavarotti's out.